Hello and welcome to the Closer's Playbook, a podcast about selling your services as a freelancer. I'm Tyler Poole here with my co-host Pete Beber.
What's up, Tyler?
How you doing today, bud?
Doing good.
Good. So Pete was telling me about a landscaping incident, I guess, that his parents had. And I thought as he was telling me the story, I thought the story of these two landscapers was directly applicable to our sales talks, our sales process. So, Pete, let's jump into the story and then we can break down why I think it's so applicable.
Yeah, I think you're right, too. I think it kind of really reflects what we're where we're trying to take people from and get them to, right? Yeah. So just set the stage. Parents moved into a new construction home after 40 plus years in a home that they had built long time ago. And over that time, my dad had done a lot of the landscaping. It was beautiful and great place. Now they're in brand new home construction. It is literally like a blank slate. There's a couple of like stick trees, in the front yard, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And they're surrounded by the other lots are getting filled in. But they want more of that like oasis that they had at the last place. Mm-hmm. And so some of the neighbors recommended this landscaper. I guess he's been doing some work around the new neighborhood. And so Dad had him come out, talk about
this is
kind of
Landscaper 1.
Landscaper 1, yeah. So Landscaper 1 comes out, looks around, says, "Oh, I could do this, do that." Right? My dad, had some plans drawn up. Idea that he wanted, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I could do it." And then the guy is sort of like Landscaper 1, kind of a little bit like, I don't know, he's probably busy. He's got a lot of other clients.
Sure.
And I think he got a little bit behind. He clearly didn't have any processes for follow-up or things like that, and he basically like no-showed, kind of flaked out.
You're giving away all the answers.
Yeah. Well, I think I know that he's busy because he has a lot of clients just in that neighborhood.
Sure. And
he does some work for HOAs and things like that. And I think, he's probably said yes to a lot of business. Okay. And, so the pitch was pretty light.
Okay. So your dad called Landscaper 2.
So yeah, after this guy flakes, it was actually...
Now, did Landscaper 1 sign a contract to do the work with your
So
parents?
He sort of put a proposal out there, and my dad was like, how am I going to trust this guy to show up? He can't even show up to give me his proposal. I got to reach out to him. And
did he push back a couple meetings?
He said he would be there, then he didn't show the first time, and my dad had to call him, say, "Hey, are you going to be here?" "Oh, yeah, like, I'll be over," and he comes by, so he's late.
Okay.
He says he could do it. My dad says, "Can you start on this date?" Yes. And he's like, "Okay." Well, then he never sort of really fully followed through. And what was difficult is my dad wanted to start in the fall. So that stuff started to really come in this spring. He wants to enjoy. They're retired.
Sure.
So there's some sense of urgency there.
They're on their own schedule.
Yeah, and they want that house to look nice for as long as possible.
Right.
And so then he had to wait through the winter. And that wasn't cool.
Right.
He had a timeline, and the guy,
Did they talk about this timeline during the initial meetings during the first?
Yeah,
proposal?
I want this done in the fall.
Okay.
Right. Let's start this in October.
Okay.
So then he has to go through, my mom was a teacher at a nearby town, art teacher, and one of her students ended up starting a landscape company. Now I'm talking grade school art teacher. My mom's retired now. This person's an adult. Sure. He's probably my age, I think.
We're not talking about breaking child labor laws.
Right. But he just started a small landscaping company. She gave me some of the background. He was mowing some lawns, doing some work, learning about the, industry, all that. And then he's gotten some really good commercial clients. He does a lot of residential stuff as well. He's built a nice little business over time, but he started out kind of as Landscaper 1.
Okay.
But he put some processes in place early. So it turns out, my dad had to call Landscaper 1 to be like, "Are you coming over here?" Little miscommunication. Landscaper 2 calls my dad about 5 minutes into them not showing up at his location and saying, "Are you going to come here?" And my dad's like, "Oh, I thought you were coming here." So they kind of race over. And
this is Landscaper 2 that is racing over.
Okay. No, my parents are going to Landscaper 2.
Oh, okay, all right.
So he pulls out plans, and he's got a whole presentation, and he talks about I took your plans and what we talked about, and now mind you, my parents talked about doing 3 phases. Okay. We want to do the backyard, we want to do the sides, we want to do the front, and this would be essentially a 3-season or 3-year project. All right. So great if you can have a long-standing project. Well, sure, this landscaper rolls out. Here's the plans. Here's why I selected these plans for these locations. It's a little bit more than what you were looking for, but I think, based on what you described, what you wanted, it's and I got the idea of it. And so I would propose this, which costs more. And sure. I just feel like you'll be happier if we do all the work at once. He was thinking about what they would truly want. Okay. And now I should say, going into this, my mom knew that this was not going to be just because this guy has a reputation. Sure. It's not going to be, here's the bare minimum. Right. Here's, I'm going to do exactly what you said. She knew that he would come in because he has a name. Did he have suggestions for different types of grass or different plants and why they would work well yes. and how they would work together? He explained all of that. So here's why I selected homework. This. Well, he knows his stuff. Okay. Right? Because he's now had years of building this business and working for a lot of clients, and he's gotten the education. So when we've talked in past episodes about you have to have a good product first sure. or a good service. Sure. Well, he's done that. So your parents are going with Landscaper too. They're paying more. They're having it done all at once, and they're very happy. Okay. So let's transition this into our business types and our sales process. The first thing, you already touched on it. The first thing that I think of is having a good product. Like you've got to have a good product. You have to do good work. Okay. That's your whole foundation. Yeah. What's the next thing that comes to your mind? Well, having a process. Okay. For one. Define that. So, all right, how am I going to meet with people? Okay, you have a new lead that's come in. So you have a prospect. What's the first thing that I need to do? Landscaper 1, what do you want to do? I can do it. Okay? That's very transactional. That's very you tell me what you want and I'll go do it. Okay. Landscaper 2, I want to understand what your desired end state is. Okay. Help me understand your vision and I will take that and I will help, right? So he understood the motivations. Mm-hmm. So for us, it would be, what's the business problem we're trying to solve? Right. For my parents, it was, we went from this great, beautiful, property to dirt. Right. Right. And they want to get back to that. And how to get back. Right. Yeah. And while my parents, they could afford more, they were thinking of we'll do this in stages. It'll be more manageable. And he was like, hey, we could do it in stages, but you're going to be less happy that it's not just done. Right. And so it's a weight on your shoulder if it's not done. Right. And so for our customers, when you understand what are you trying to accomplish, what are you trying to solve for, you can go back and tie your proposal now your proposal may be exactly what the customer asked you for to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. That's certainly possible. But when you truly listen and when you recognize what the motivations are, what the level of urgency is, what you're solving for, you can tie that to it. And maybe you come in with 2 proposals and you say, here's the proposal for what you ask. And here's the proposal I think will make you happier. And you give them these options. And yes, this proposal that is going to make them happier is more expensive. But also, if you do it correctly, it has some legitimate points. Instead of a 3-year project, you get to the next 2 years you get to enjoy your nice lawn instead of still having this go. Yeah, and for him, think about this. This is a brand new community, so there's a lot of blank slates. Right. And for him, if he completes it, the whole thing, it's going to be better for his business too. 100%. And so he actually was willing. He said, I know that this is more than what you asked for. They're corner lot. You can see it from the community center. There's a park behind it. Okay. Right? People can see all sides of my parents' home. Yeah. And so he said, I'm willing to knock off a little bit to do this.
It's the perfect billboard.
It's a exactly. It's a billboard. So that might be your first customer that you get in. You're like, I'll do this for less, but I need testimonial from you.
Sure.
Okay. I talked before about not discounting, but like there has to be a real good reason for it.
Sure. And so that kind of leads into what else. Another thing that I had really struck out in proving you're an expert in the landscaper's business. It was recommending certain types of plants that would look good together and a grass and whatever those pieces are. For myself, it would be, let's say a local customer comes to me. I'm going to use this software for reporting. I'm going to track using this software. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z month 1, ABC month 2, something else on month 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to lay out that exact plan and tell you when I'm going to do what, so that, and what tools I'm going to be using, so that during that entire process, the customer knows where I am.
And you might not even need to say what tools, just show that you have the process.
And well, the tools are nice because you give a little credential to, like if you're using a paid tool, it's a little bit, you can throw that in there and be like, I use this. It's a little more expensive than some of the others on the market, but I like the reporting better. And all of a sudden, just by wording it that way, it sounds like you have tried other tools. You have experience with other tools.
Quality is important to you.
Right. And so, and it kind of builds up, even if you're a starting freelancer and you have no idea what you're doing and you've never sold local SEO before, little pieces like that and having a process laid out can give you some credibility that otherwise you may not have, and you may not have any other way to get it. And so just by wording things and by having this, even if you have to scrap the plan 3 months in or make big adjustments, then you can sell that at that point.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here, I asked my parents, I said, do you trust that landscaper number 2 is going to do the job, do it well, and do it on time? And they said, yeah. What? There's nothing that indicates otherwise. And I said, what do you think about landscaper 1? They said, he couldn't do this. They said he's incapable of doing it. Do we know that that's true? I don't know. Maybe he is fully capable, but it was just in how he approached his customer versus landscaper 2 that, and that's what we've been kind of driving home in a lot of these episodes, is it doesn't even take, you just had to be a little bit better than landscaper 1. Right? You had to show up on time, and you had to tell them and basically reassure them that you could do the job and do it in the time and for the budget that you said you could do it in. For a lot of people, that's all you need. And
how I think how he approached reassuring them was really, because I could tell you all day, Pete, I can really do this.
Right.
Yada yada.
Right.
And whatever. That doesn't mean anything. But by presenting a professional thing, by not being on time because he wasn't, but making it a priority to get there as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, my parents were the ones that were late for landscaper 2. Landscaper 1 was on time, and he's like, "Hey." So gotcha. Yeah, okay. It's just it's a lot of little things. Be on time, follow through with what you say you're going to do. But if to me, landscaper 2 differentiated himself. He got a larger project that cost more money. That's going to be something that he can show others. So when you're I think for me, when you're just starting out, you don't want to be landscaper 1. You want to. You might not be landscaper 2 yet, but somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And so he has a reputation in the community, so that certainly helped. But just the presentation of how he went through everything, that's what won him the deal. Because if you have a good reputation, the other guy had a good reputation in the community my parents are in, but it was how he presented everything to my parents that made them go, there's no way. And my dad's like, this guy, if anybody asks me who to use, I would rather tell them, don't use landscaper 1. And that was before he had landscaper 2. Right. He's like, my dad said, I'm going to find a great landscaper. And this guy, because he does work in the community, is going to see the job that he lost. Because he cost my parents a year almost of having great landscaping. And my dad was, he reassured him to your point. You can say, oh, I'll do this. I can do this. Anybody can talk a big game.
Right.
It's how you follow through. And so I think, yeah, you're totally right. This is definitely where you don't have to be a landscaper to learn something from this story. Right. And I bet you see it all around you in your everyday life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, think of the last time you had a home improvement project done, or I mean, we're all most people who are watching this podcast, from what we've heard, are online freelancers. So, the questions and comments that we get are always on that stuff. But so, like, whether you're selling Facebook ads or SEO or whatever that service is,
writing, web design,
how can you polish it? How can you tell the customer that you can do the project without telling them I can do the project, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a good example. So don't be landscaper 1, try to be landscaper 2.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Good place to wrap it up. All right. Well, talk to you guys next week.
Yeah.
All right.